I had talked about the two formative experiences that led to ultimately my writing the paper, and one was my experience in the Peace Corps and seeing how the society's giving people choices and even language shapes who they are, even on something as central as one's own sexual identity, gender identity, well, not necessarily gender identity, but sexual identity, love interest, love attraction, etc., sexual orientation. The other formative experience was reading the book that changed my life, which was John Boswell's Christianity, Social Tolerance, and Homosexuality. And Boswell's massive, magisterial, award-winning, 16 languages treatment of 3,000 to 4,000 years of Western history, of course, it was just something I completely adored because of my great passion for history. But here it was combining my great passion with my own personal journey and curiosity and experience by showing that the way societies have treated homosexuality and gay people throughout history has not always been the same, and it certainly has not been the same as ours treats it today. And so that gave me the insight and the inspiration that if it had once been different, it could be different again. And so when I came to write the paper and knew I wanted to write on something gay and I wanted to write on how we change the way gay people are understood, I was thinking about, well, why are gay people discriminated against? What is it that we are denied for? What is it that we're denied for? What is it that we're harmed by? Why are we seen as deniable? And the answer is love. It's who we love. It's how we love. And so I then thought, okay, well, what's the preeminent language of love? And the preeminent language of love in this and every other society, of course, is marriage. So by claiming this language of marriage, we would be going to the heart of how it is we are denied and excluded and not understood. And by claiming it and helping people see it, we would be transforming who we are in the most profound way. And that's why I wanted to write about marriage, and that's why it so centers on love, because it is for our love that we are excluded, misunderstood, denied, feared.
I came to the conclusion that while I still felt like, I still had a critique of marriage just as an institution. In the same way, I kind of started to liken it to the way I felt about the military. I have a critique about the military too, but our exclusion does create a tremendous amount of stigma, and it actually provides people perfect cover for never checking their own biases, because all they have to say is, well, the government won't even let them marry or be in the military, so something must be wrong with them. And so we had to end the exclusion. We had to end the government sort of putting their thumb on the scales and have the open dialogue about our place in civil society. But we had to get rid of the governmental barriers to our place in civil society. And so that's where I was when we started to get involved in the Hawaii case and then the Massachusetts case, and obviously then we took a very, very significant role. And I've had my own evolution on marriage and how I feel about it and how I feel about the difference it's made in LGBT liberation generally. But back then, it was really just a matter of, this is just for all sorts of practical purposes. We've got to end discrimination against our relationships.
In 2001, when I had gotten into a relationship with my now husband, Mike, and we were very much in love, but I remember thinking at the time, marriage was enough on my consciousness that I said, I don't think we should get married until everybody can. So we were, even then, in the very late 90s, around 2000, kind of holding off, because it felt like, okay, now it's really clear this is heterosexual privilege, so better think about that for a while. And then we reached a point quickly after that where his mom was diagnosed terminally ill with cancer. My dad had been diagnosed with Alzheimer's and was really failing. And I think we realized for ourselves that we wanted our parents, to witness. My parents loved him, his parents loved me. They just wanted to see us together. And we wanted to do that with them together. So in 2001, we decided to get married. And we had a kind of small wedding because of the medical issues around both of our parents. But just going around town, I was going to buy a pair of shoes to wear on my wedding day. And, I was in the little shop and, it was closing time. And when one of the salespeople said, but she's getting married, we'll keep the store open, until you get your shoes, don't worry about it, And everywhere I went and I was having these conversations about the fact that this was for my wedding and I was getting married, people sort of responded in a certain way. Everyone could relate to it. Everyone wanted to help me find the thing I needed that would be part of that wedding. And it really got me thinking. It really made me realize what an incredible bonding institution this was, how important it was to my parents, and how important it was for me that they would be there. So that really affected me a lot in thinking about marriage as an issue and as this kind of universal language. I mean, what Evan was talking about was absolutely right. It was this point of commonality that, went throughout society that, was a real touchstone.
I always tell people that I distinctly remember when I came out in 2004, I first came out to my sister, and I distinctly remember accepting the fact that by coming out, I was putting this idea of one day getting married to the person I love, like I was leaving it in the closet I was walking out of on the top shelf. I was walking away from it, and when I shut that closet door, I was accepting the fact that I'd never get married. I'd never have the opportunity to get married. Even though states were starting to go in that direction, for me, it just wasn't something that was what gay people would ever have access to. And so, yeah, I know I was aware of it, but I just never imagined it would be something that I could do.
I think Teresa and I started thinking about the right to marry when we had kids. And we really started realizing the impact legally of not being able to get married on these children. Our middle son, I don't remember how old he was, but he was very little, came home one day pretty much in tears because I don't remember how it happened, but he realized we weren't married. And he had always thought we were married, and how could we not be married? And he was crushed that we weren't married, this little teeny kid. And it became very clear what we all learn about the impact of marriage and the importance of marriage. And all of a sudden this little, I think he was like 3 or 4 year old, realized that something was wrong with his family because his moms weren't married. It never occurred to him that he had 2 moms and that may have been different in any way, but that they weren't married was really a hardship and a problem for him. So we always wanted to get married. And we had the opportunity, every single state that passed marriage, we would sit down and go, all right, now do we fly to California really fast, or do we fly to Oregon, do we fly to Massachusetts? And we really wanted to get married in our new adopted state, which was, we'd been in Maryland forever. And so we held out. And we waited until we actually, I guess, officially said we were going to get married the night that we realized we won in Maryland, and then we got married 6 months later. But it was always important to us, not only for that commitment. I mean, we always felt that we had a lifelong relationship because we had already been in a lifelong relationship, but we knew what the impact of marriage was. And the difference of being able to say wife is really pretty extraordinary.